We are back, everybody. Welcome to the top 8 of the first AGE Open of 2024.
And my first casting with my dear friend Colin.
Is this the first one?
This is the first one we've done together.
We messed up. We waited till the very end to do this. Well, this is going to be great already. This is great already. You're all in for a treat because what's better than us? Who's better than us?
Literally no one, especially not that Blake guy.
Nobody answered my question, so it's got to be us. Very exciting top 8. It's shaken up a little weirdly. Let's take a little peek at this. We got 3 Bravos, but they're all in the top bracket, so only one of them's getting through. So at least we won't have a Bravo final.
At the very least, yes, that's very exciting.
Same thing down at the bottom. We got 2 Kanos, so only one's making it through if they do at all. And then we've got some Fi and Bolton and a little Zaylee and Bravo. Just some classic matchups in there. So it should be pretty interesting.
Absolutely. And we're going to kick it off with a Kano Mirror, which is going to be a fearsome match to watch for those of you that have never played one before. I think Kano is everyone in Flesh and Blood has experience playing against a Kano, right?
Mm-hmm. And they have a lot of feelings about it, too.
Yeah, exactly. Either you're okay with it or it's the bane of your existence. But it's a completely different story playing a Kano Mirror, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can speak from experience to that.
It's a wild game because you're pretty much at all times a little bit terrified of what could happen. And everyone's trying to not to overextend themselves. They're trying to set up. And we have 2 fantastic Kano players, Feiyu and Eugene, coming together. Eugene, widely recognized like the best Kano player out of San Diego for sure. Probably best in Southern California.
And my pick to win the entirety of AGE 1.
There you go. Bryce is putting it down. Feiyu, just also very good. He's more up here in the LA area, but just as skilled. So this is going to be very, very interesting match. Let's head on into the table. There we go. Kano. Let's
go. That's flames.
Boy.
Let's go.
That's my boy. Yeah, so this is going to be interesting. A lot of people like to say first to play Aether Wildfire loses.
And why is that?
Basically because once it hits, the other Kano can benefit from all the wildfire bonuses because that just is applied to everything.
Right.
So it can get a little hairy in that regard. You know, I think if you can get the have a little issue with the camera, we'll get that fixed. If you can get the if you can catch them out with no cards, anything like that, once a Kano overextends themselves against another Kano, they're definitely in a rough spot and could be just blown up.
And so what is the strategy being in the Kano Mirror? Like, if it's the first to play an Aether Wildfire loses, do you just not play your Aether Wildfires, or do you try to force your opponent into playing theirs?
I think a little bit of both, and probably, if you're real good, you're pitch stacking your own so that when you get there, you're going to do something completely nuts and not just hope that you're doing it. So this might be a bit of a lengthy game. So we'll see how it goes. I'm excited to see how these 2 players go about it. I believe the way to go, the equipment loadout will probably be Alluvian Constellas so that they can continue to gain value off of blocking Arcane. And then using the Waning Moon seems to be the way people are doing it these days, just because you get a little bit of extra value. And then on those Blazing Aether and just totally blanked. Blazing Aether. I was thinking of Aether Wildfire.
Mm-hmm.
On the Blazing Aether plays, you just get a little bit extra bonus damage when you play and resolve those.
Yeah, absolutely. As they're setting up, let's take a look at these 2 deck lists and see what the main differences are. First of all, what I notice is the total number of reds and yellows in each of the decks. Let's see. Eugene has 1 more yellow than Feiyu does, and that yellow is very telling. It's a single of Chain Lightning. How do you feel about that card?
It is a card that is simultaneously amazing and total crap.
What are the instances in which it's total crap?
Okay, because of the text on Chain Lightning, it says If you've played another wizard non-attack action, this deals 3 damage, and then you may play the next wizard non-attack action as an instant. So it has the conditional damage, which can be tricky sometimes. It's got to just kind of line up a little bit, and then playing the next thing at instant. So it just kind of requires. It's kind of card hungry. It's kind of combo-y, but it can be when it hits. It's like amazing. It's one of the coolest cards.
You know what I noticed that's the same in both lists?
What is that?
A single of Nourishing Emptiness.
Oh yeah, I mean that's just classic. That's just classic wizard BS, you know.
Absolutely. Do you think is it too risky to deploy in the mirror?
I don't know. I think because they're probably looking to play this a little bit longer and maybe pitch stack for like a perfect combo situation, it might be okay.
Yeah.
I think in a faster game where you really need to play off the top a bit more, then it gets a little bit risky. I think they might play it. It is one of those things you're hoping to see turn 0 so that you can just get that dominate and then the 5 intellect. So we'll see. I'm curious to see if they bring it, and then we'll go from there. The other major differences I've seen, so it's really very similar. 33 blues on both. That seems to be what Wizards think is good. 1 extra red for Feiyu. He's running 2 chains of eminence. Sounds like Eugene's going second. Feiyu's running the Chains of Eminence, which is very interesting. I don't know if he'll play it in this, but that's the the card you name a card and they can't pitch, play, or block with it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if he does that against the Wildfire, that could be his kind of tech against that. I'm not sure. It could also be anti-tech against, or tech against the tech of Oasis Respite. Not totally sure, but these guys definitely know what they're doing. Feiyu drawing up a Potion of Deja Vu on turn 0. Love that.
Pretty sick, right? Yeah, getting to do a little bit of setup on your turn 1 is always good, right? Because Eugene's not going to want to overextend himself too much on turn 1, 2, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a delicate dance back and forth. Both players don't want to be caught out with no cards in hand, but they are going to want to poke at each other. And since it's turn 0, they can this one they can probably mess around and do a little bit more. But Eugene responding to Feiyu's Kano with his own Kano. But yeah, he's going to play that Swell Tidings and then get out his Potion of Deja Vu as well, which is pretty great. Potion Deja Vu just allows you to be more flexible if you got weird cards in hand that you would rather have on the top of your deck, and allows you to do some really nutty combo turns that is like super like skill expressive in my opinion.
Absolutely. And Eugene kind of noticing that Feiyu just has the 1 card left in hand, probably destined for Arsenal, trying to get a Kano activation, but he doesn't seem to want to banish what's on top of his deck. Maybe he found that Eye of Ophidia, which I'm guessing is in both their decks. Yep. Yeah, we both got Eye of Ophidia. Maybe he found the Eye of Ophidia, or maybe it was just something he didn't want to banish on turn 0.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple cards that are just a little bit awkward. Maybe, I don't know how many 2-cost cards he's got in here, but, if something just too expensive or non-impactful, sometimes you hit a blue zap or something, and that's, you can play it, but is it really worthwhile if they've got 1 floating? And, oh, look at that. He's just going to banish an Aether Wildfire off the top. So Eugene just going to immediately disregard what I said and just try to win this game maybe straight up.
Well, and he's playing it on his turn, right?
That's
so
true.
That
That's very different. Yeah. The text is not active. Sorry. Thank you. So just coming in for 4, which is just a solid attack. And I think they want to be chipping at each other. So not too bad, and allows him to turn on his Waning Moon and continue that as well.
Ooh, and an E-Pot. Very nice. Eugene doing some setup of his own.
Yeah, drew those 2 E-Pots in the one hand, which is a little bit rough. You'd like to see those spaced out so that you can get them all on the board, but, them's the break sometimes.
Indeed. Feiyu drew First Blood on turn 0, but nothing too crazy, right? I mean, what is the difference between 29 and 30 in a Kano mirror when the end of the game is going to be both of them throwing 60 damage of fire at one another?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't, I used to play more Kano, uh, and I haven't played in a little bit, so I'm not totally sure what the mirror looks like. I feel like it ends up not being as huge of a combo. It just ends up being like who can resolve the last bit of lethal damage first.
Hmm.
So it becomes a lot of, uh, you know, okay, I'm gonna play this. Are you gonna do anything?
Yeah.
And then they get in there and they just get the sneaky
Yeah.
snapback, which I don't know if either of them are running. Yeah,
Yes. Feiyu is
Feiyu
running
does
two
have
snapbacks.
snapbacks, which is a great
Yeah.
great way of just being like, oh, on top of your thing, I'm also gonna hit you. Because they can both get down pretty low,
Hmm.
and then it's just whoever can resolve the damage first to win the game, which is always really it's a little tricky and it's pretty exciting when you're doing it. So.
Yeah, no doubt. And there's going to be a lot of posturing being done with that Alluvian Constellus, right? Because ideally, you're just blocking a little bit of arcane damage each turn to get off those free waning moon triggers, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just the value they get on that. We're having a little trouble with our camera delay a little bit.
So we'll just see if we can identify what's happening based on the faces of our players here until this gets resolved. Looks like Eugene's doing a lot of thinking. Looks like Feiyu is kind of just looking around the room aimlessly. So it seems like the ball is in Eugene's court at this point. Kind of taking a look at his arsenal card. Yeah, no, this is good. Oh, he must have sent some damage because he just put a die on the board. Feiyu scratching his head.
Just hoping this camera.
Man, Eugene's hands are quite smooth, aren't they? I've never noticed that before. He seems like such a rough and tough guy when you're sitting across the table from him. Looks like he lotions for sure. Here we go.
All
And
right,
now
we're
back
back.
up.
We're back. It looks like a Swell Tiding came out and then a Waning Moon. Both good cards. Swell Tiding just a strict upgrade from the Voltic bolts we used to run, because you get that Ponder token if you surge it.
And how often are you actually because it's in this match they don't have Crucible of Aether Weave.
Yeah,
so
so
we're
this one it
probably not
doesn't
gonna get
happen
those
as
search
much,
triggers,
but
right?
it's still just a good 2 for 5.
Absolutely.
So,
I mean, a 2 for 5 with text on it is always going to be better than a 2 for 5 without text, right?
yeah.
That being said, Voltic Bolt's art is so sick,
Yeah.
and I don't think there's anything more quintessentially Wizard, right?
Yeah. Wizard. Some of the Wizard art is some of the best in here. Is it frozen again?
Yeah, because Feiyu's hands are definitely not in that position in both places.
All right,
Um,
Justin's looking at the camera. We'll get this taken care of. Yeah, so the text doesn't come on there. It is just a strict upgrade. It I think after Waning Moon was released, I wanted to keep playing Crucible. I was shown the error of my ways multiple times because the value you get from just being able to play one card and then Waning Moon is just much better than the buffing it. It feels weird on your like kind of bread and butter Kano stuff like Sonic Booms and other things that you're used for coming in for like 4, but then they start coming in for 3, so it's like your math gets all weird.
Totally.
For me, I've always been kind of programmed to add the +1 as a just part of what I'm doing as Kano. So
Yeah.
that was a harder learning curve for me. But I think once you get used to it, it's just better because you're just going to do more damage with a little bit less.
And the Kano mirror math is already so much harder, right? Because there's like a lot of extra arcane barrier that's built into your normal equipment suite anyway than you would see in a lot of your other matchups, right?
Yeah, totally. But then you start using that equipment. Like if you break Storm Striders, if you break your Metacarpus nodes, that goes away. So you have to start factoring that in. So
100%.
once you try to go for something, you can lose access to these things, which is pretty terrifying. So it's like if you don't get the kill, okay. So Eugene, just off the top doing. I think we can.
We're still looking good, believe it or not.
Looked like we had a Swell Tiding and then a Waning Moon, and then it looks like he got a Blazing Aether out there. Not sure what the order of those things. Probably one of those things was a Kano activation. The other was just played out of his hand, but that's...
And I think Eugene had indicated for us that the Swell Tidings had hit for 1, the Waning Moon had hit for 2, which would mean that the Blazing Aether comes in for 3, yeah?
Yeah, I think, he did have a 3 on there. So that's definitely... it's not the most impactful Blazing Aether, but I think in this matchup, you do want to get that chip in there however you can. I think it's more important that you're just not leaving yourself wide open.
100%.
Because especially once you go for something on your opponent's turn, that means when it comes to your turn, they're going to have 4 cards, and you have like 1 or 2 cards in hand, and that's when things get real dicey.
Absolutely. I mean, and then Kano kind of feels the issue that all other classes feel against him. Like, don't get rid of all your cards. Sometimes you just need to IP yourself in order to stay alive, right?
Yeah,
otherwise, here comes the big flames.
Absolutely. So it is. All right, coming back in here, we got an Aether Spindle, I think that is, which when you hit, you can opt, and then he's coming in with another Swell Tiding. Eugene just kind of drawn pretty hot on his turns here, it seems like.
And one of those must have been banished by Kano, right? Because we have 3 blues in the pitch zone. Yeah. Cool. So Feiyu kind of taking the back seat here, being the blocker in this game. Looks like a total of 3 damage gets through here. Eugene doing a fantastic job of aiding Colin and I on the casting side of things by indicating damage. We appreciate you so much, Eugene. This is why you're my top pick for this tournament.
It's a smart move, honestly, I think, because once you start keeping track of it, you're basically telegraphing that you have Blazing Aether. So if you're always keeping track of it, you keep them on your toes, never know what you're.
That's an interesting bit of mind gaming. Feiyu trying to recover some health here by drawing 2 cards and gaining some life here.
Yeah,
go back up to 24. Toma Fendel, pretty good card in general. Amazing card into Kano.
Yeah, it's good. Let's see. And then Waning Moon is also just good because you can just play that Toma Fendel and then still do some damage. We'll see if he does a Kano activation as well.
Looks like there is an E-Pot in hand. Maybe it's just some more setup.
Yeah, well, he doesn't have an action point, so he can't.
True.
He can't play it, but he might try to Kano to just poke a little damage and then try to get that E-Pot in arsenal. But here we go, Lesson in Lava. This is the Kano. Wait, is it Kano specialization? Yeah, I think it is.
I believe so, yeah.
Yellow comes in for 3. If it does damage, then you can search a card from your deck that is cost equal to or less the damage dealt. And it's just one of the best cards. Any card that lets you tutor is pretty sweet. So
100%, especially in a deck that is so combo oriented.
Yeah, it's very hard though. If you're trying to pitch stack, it can totally ruin your plans.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you got to know if it's like if you're actually going to get to your pitch stack or if you're just trying to win the game, because that can really affect what you're doing there.
Ooh,
and then
Eugene coming in with his own Toma Fendel. Pitching a red, though, critically.
Not too bad, though. He's going to gain 4 life and go up to more health than he started, which is pretty good. Feiyu leaking a bit more life, and now he's got 4 cards in hand. So that last Toma Fendel turn, just leaving Eugene the space to kind of do the same thing but better, and with enough cards in hand that he can probably do a little bit more damage as well.
He's tickling that Waning Moon. Wonder if, okay, we're going to cash in Alluvian Constella's tokens to go ahead and send Waning Moon for 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Alluvian Constella is just like such a great card. Really, really cool. I love when people target themselves to activated turns.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're always just like, wait, what happened? Oh, yeah. They
adds such a massive amount of flavor to these wizard mirrors. And it wasn't printed until Uprising, right?
Yeah.
That was when that card came in. What were Kano mirrors like before that?
I mean, it probably just run Tunic and, I mean, I think Waning Moon came in Uprising as well.
Yeah,
it was more Crucible focused, so just a little bit different, and less probably. I don't know if they were slower, but yeah, just a little less efficient on those off turns. I think Waning Moon really just made it so that you can at least always feel like you're doing something.
Yeah.
So
this is really interesting. Eugene just passed back to Feiyu with 4 cards in hand, tucked 1 into Arsenal. Doesn't seem to have gotten value off of the majority of his hand. I wonder if he has something set up that he is trying to bait Feiyu into.
All right. Well, hard to know if this. Okay, I was gonna say, is this Feiyu's turn?
Yeah. I just saw Eugene draw up. So
okay. Yeah, that's always the thing too. Of like, you can pass with an action point and then just see if they do anything, and then do whatever.
Oh, and then they kind of just go, okay, cool.
Yeah, then
I'll
they
take
play
my
their
turn now.
cards, and then you're like, oh wait, I'm gonna do something.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Yeah. So that, I mean, that can happen. Either it can be weird cards, or he's got like a combo. You know,
That's
maybe
what
he
I'm
just drew
thinking.
into the combo and is like, I can do this if Feiyu.
Wow, and he just takes all of that. He's got to have something good in that grip.
Oof. Yeah.
Look, he's just laying his cards down on the table saying, you're not getting any of these unless you really make me give them to you, right? And he just takes 2. Oh, yeah, he's just saying, all right, Feiyu, give me that last card in your hand, and I will show you what I can do.
Yeah, this is where things get scary for Feiyu, because if Eugene's got it and Feiyu doesn't have enough gas to try to come back, which with one card in hand in an arsenal, he really can't hope to, you know, counter much. I think you really okay. All right.
Yeah, so Feiyu, sensing the danger in the air, just goes, I'm going to keep this last card in my hand as defense or just as like a failsafe in case Eugene decides to pop off, passes it back to him. A lot of posturing, a lot of kind of feints and ducks and dives and dodges in this matchup,
Yeah.
most of which I don't completely understand, but God, is it fun to watch.
It's scary when Kano just says, "Yeah, I'll take it," and you're like, "Oh no, what are they gonna do? And is
Yeah.
it gonna be on my turn or theirs? Who knows?" So, back to Eugene's turn. We definitely need a turn marker and then like a priority marker for Kano mirrors.
Yeah,
It would just be
exactly.
like we can just ping pong that thing back and forth. So, Tome of Aetherwind, one of the other most fun cards to play. You're just like, I will draw cards, and drawing cards with Kano always feels dope.
I mean, we're all card game fanatics here. Like, who does not love to draw cards in card games, right?
Yeah, just with Kano, it's like it. You've always got a way to pitch stuff to do cool things because of his ability. So I feel like it's just like enhanced on his in his deck when you have the ability to draw more cards, because you're like, well, I'll just keep Kanoing and see what happens.
Yeah, and a lot of time, it's good that you mentioned that because it's like with Kano, Kano's a weird hero in that a lot of the time you don't want the cards you want to play in your hand, right? Usually you want them on top of your deck so that you can activate Kano, reveal them, and play them at instant speed. When you have red cards in your hand, it's usually a detriment to you, right? Like
Yeah.
you want to be able to pitch the cards in your hand to find the red cards on the top of your deck and play them out. So the all that to say, the tome is really interesting because it kind of fixes this constant need for resources that Kano is always craving, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just give me more energy to send more lightning bolts at my opponent.
Yeah, totally. And it's even good when it's like you just play it as an action too. You're just like, well, there's a chance I can draw a bunch of blues and still do a bunch of stuff on my turn. So it just feels good. But when you Kano it, it's chef's kiss, you know.
So good. And there's no way Eugene could have known that was on top of his deck either. So the feeling of finding that tome on top of the deck must be really, really nice.
Yeah, well, that's just why we play Kano.
That's right.
It's that high we're chasing.
Here we go. Looks like both modes are draw cards, as we kind of suspected.
That's right. I'm one who sometimes does the buff one just because sometimes it works.
Maybe to get that trigger on the swell tidings, right?
Yeah, so
Which you can't imagine an opposing Kano is ever going to let you get the surge trigger, right? But because they know the value of a ponder token in Kano.
yeah, it's just strictly good.
Another Kano activation, finding a red Aether Flare. That's a pretty sweet find. Deploying it here would have been more ideal to see that on the front of this combat chain, shall we call it. Feiyu just says, nope, I am not letting any of this recursion of arcane damage happen on this turn.
Yeah. See, this is where the Crucible, you feel the lack of the Crucible, is because normally you'd be like, oh yeah, it's coming in for 4, but no, it comes in for 3, easily covered up with a blue card. Right? Doesn't know. Or does it come in for 4? I'm forgetting now.
It seemed like it came in for 3 because Feiyu just pitched a blue, and
Okay,
that
yeah.
was that.
Yeah. So it's that kind of stuff where you just feel like your cards are a little bit weaker, but but as we said, when Waning Moon just strictly ekes out a bit more value over the length of the game.
Absolutely. Speaking of eking out value, Feiyu sitting with 3 counters on the Illuvian Castellus. And Eugene sitting with none. Feiyu's got one card. He looks like he's trying to pass it back to Eugene on his turn and draw back up, seeing if he can get Eugene to extend himself out here a little bit. Or maybe he's just bluffing that he has something useful in his hand and is saying, hey, Eugene, you want to put your money where your mouth is, or let me draw back up? And looks like the answer is draw back up.
Yeah.
So now back over to Eugene's turn. What are we going to see?
It's like you just never want to have no cards in hand against Kano.
Yeah. And there's that beautiful Nourishing Emptiness coming down with a full grip. So Eugene's got 2 cards for defense if he needs it. Feiyu is facing down this dominated attack, which will give, speaking of liking a lot of cards, going to give Kano an extra card at the end of his turn if it's not blocked out. Looks like it's indeed going to hit. 3 damage getting through. Feiyu at half of his beginning life total. Kano activation here. Show us the card. No! Oh, devastating. A couple more technical difficulties here. We can get this sorted out.
Wireless technology, come on.
Back in my day, we had coaxial cable, and I don't remember anybody complaining.
I was like, we're frozen too. Oh my god.
No.
Yeah, okay, we'll get that fixed up. But yeah, you can just see just them going back and forth, being like, okay, well, are you going to do anything? No. Okay, I'll draw up. Every time you pass, especially when you have that one card in hand, you're just like, I really want to. I think he had an E-Pot too. And it's like, I really want to play this, but I know if I just go no cards, you could just lose on the spot for sure.
100%. And maybe he's feeling that the pressure even more, knowing that Eugene's going into a 5-card hand.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, seeing that come back is definitely
into a lesson in lava. Back to the action. That's a pretty fearsome look as well. And 3 of the damage. There's that chain lightning that we were talking about.
Yeah, chain lightning always better off a Kano activation and not when you draw it. Just because when you play it as an instant, much easier to have played another card. So this is this is where you can do some spicy things, especially if the card in Arsenal is something that he can play after this. It looks like Feiyu blocked 3 off the Nourishing Emptiness, but hasn't pitched against anything yet. So it's got 3 cards in hand. Very curious. I don't know if... oh wait, no. Eugene pitched 3 cards, he Kano'd 2, and then he played the Nourishing Emptiness. Okay, so he doesn't have any cards left, so I'm curious if he's going to crack... No, I don't think he can afford it. I think it's just going to go on top of his deck, and then he's going to draw it next turn, unless he has a card that I'm missing.
I don't think so. He could deploy the card from Arsenal as long as Lesson in Lava must have been Kano'd, right?
Yeah.
Because we have all of his cards in the pitch stack besides the Nourishing Emptiness.
Yeah.
Okay, looks like we're just going to go ahead and pass. I was going to say maybe there's a world where Eugene pops that E-Pot just to try to pressure all the cards out of Feiyu's hand because he knows he's going into a 5-card grip next turn.
Yeah.
And then maybe he can actually go for a wildfire combo without any risk to himself. I mean, 24 life is a pretty significant advantage here against Feiyu, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard with Kano because he can just kill you from such a high total, but did he draw 5 cards? He did? Okay. It just couldn't count it. Yeah, but it's E-Pot is great in the mirror as a defensive kind of tool as well. So I imagine he'll want to hold on to it. It just means that he has 2 resources to block Feiyu even if he goes all out. It definitely can be used offensively, but in my opinion, it feels like more of a safety net sometimes.
Absolutely. Those safety nets being so important when one of those resources pitched by the E-Pot can mean 6, 7 damage sometimes, depending on how intensely that combo goes off.
Yeah, totally. It large returns on blocking any hit points off of an Aether Wildfire. So
are you finding a blue Aether Flare?
That was a blue one? Oof.
Yeah, it's pretty unfortunate.
Yeah. Kanoing a blue card always feels a little bad.
It is kind of interesting for Eugene because it does force a card out of hand without as much reward. Maybe he's fine with that though, because at the end of the turn he's already got 2 resources in the pitch. Maybe he can use that to sneak off a cheeky Kano activation into Waning Moon or something like that. He says no. I'm going to take that 1. Don't really care, and then Waning Moon will then come in for 3. Correct? If the Aether Flare connected.
I think so. I think it just says the next arcane damage you would do.
Yeah,
So
that's what I thought too.
yeah. Looks like he's still got a card in hand, passing priority.
Yep.
All right. So going into Eugene's got 6 cards to play with. That's terrifying.
Indeed so.
Let's see what this guy does. Let's go. Kano. All right. Kano right off the top. Ooh.
Ooh, not an instant banish.
Yeah.
Check the graveyard first. Is that a good sign or a bad sign?
All right. Flare does.
Lesson in Lava.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
That's one of the better cards you can find in this situation, I think.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Playing it with that Aether Spindle, coming in for 3, threatening who knows what, you know? That's what Lesson in Lava is great at. You're just like, you let this hit, I could do so much right now.
Yeah, I wonder if he's still got so many cards in hand. I wonder if the most tempting one is Blazing Aether, just because it seems like on your own turn, that's the card that can pop off the most.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends if he's trying to, you know.
Doesn't matter because Feiyu's just going to say, I'm not having any of that. He knows the power of that card, and he doesn't want to deal with it.
Yeah, so, it doesn't seem like pitch stacking is a concern for either of these players right now, just because I think they've both hit the Lesson in Lava reshuffle. Doesn't look like Eugene might be going for... oh, wait, no, it looks like he blocked all of it, so...
Maybe an Aether Spindle is the best thing to find if your opponent lets 2 damage through. Just to cycle through that deck and find the cards you want, put them on top.
Either Spindle is a great tool for cycling through your deck and finding the combo you need. But again, it's like different than any other matchup where like you don't want to find the combo too soon, because if you don't kill them, you're putting yourself in a pretty dangerous spot.
Interesting. Looks like Eugene is using his action point for the turn to do another Tome of the Aether Winds, choosing both modes to be drawing cards.
So he started with 5 cards. He's got 4 cards in hands. He's played 2 cards and he's pitched 2 cards.
Cards.
This is Kano gaming.
That's right. Feiyu still with 3 cards in hand with which to use for defense. And a Waning Moon on the stack, but he hasn't let it resolve yet, I don't think.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go. Okay.
So only 2 on your own turn. Feiyu taking that, saying, I don't trust you with these cards. I might need to block something better.
Absolutely. Check the graveyard again. Interesting. What could Eugene be thinking right now? Is he thinking like I have one more thing I could do, but I'm afraid of overextending?
Probably. It's like he could probably Kano and, hope he gets something, but it's kind of risky. If it's not a 0 cost, he's got to, pitch both cards. Maybe he has like a blue and a red. If he doesn't have 2 blues, it gets even more weird because you might not be able to pay for whatever you pull. So Feiyu just going to straight up play Aether Spindle, which is just good. Just a good card.
Absolutely. Both players seem to understand the value of holding on to 1 or 2 cards at the end of their turn every single time, just to donate to the, if you try to kill me, I am not going to let you, right? And you could overextend and kill yourself.
Yeah, I mean, if the Aether Flare doesn't kind of backfire on you, if you blow up all your equipment to try to get there, that's where you really are leaving yourself vulnerable, because you can no longer block as much arcane barrier, so you're just going to leak a lot more life. And then when you do go, when your opponent tries to go off, it's pretty crazy, so it's always it's always scary because you're just like, and I think that's even why Faye is just like he's putting his one card out there, being like, I have one card in hand, so think about what you're trying
Yeah.
to do here.
Yeah, he likes to present it.
There's no cheeky. Oh yeah, I've got this one card. It's like
Eugene's doing a lot of graveyard checking. I wonder if he thinks he's got it. Spindle's still on the stack, too.
It's my favorite thing in the Kano mirror is when the spells don't resolve and they're just all layered in there. You're like, okay, everyone plays all their things, and then you're like, all right, let's see how this goes. Because
Okay, this is an amazing first find here. Kano activation into Gaze the Ages. He's going to play that Gaze the Ages at some point here, fix the top of his deck, and then get a blue back to his hand. Oh my gosh, finds a red Aether Flare. This is looking really good already.
Here we go. Is he going to third Kano activation?
Maybe put it on the stack and then play the Gaze the Ages? No, just go ahead and deploy the Aether Flare first. Say, show me the blue, Feiyu.
No, I think he might be holding. Yeah, he's holding.
Okay,
He's playing Gaze the Ages. So classic Wizard mood where he's played the card, but it has not resolved. But now Gaze the Ages text has turned on, so he'll be able to opt to, and then when he's done, that card goes back to his hand, which is just the best sometimes.
Looks like he also let Feiyu's Aether Spindle resolve and hit him. I just saw their life totals tick down.
That's
Which is interesting. That shouldn't happen until the end there. Maybe it was a correction on life totals?
Yeah, it might have been a correction on life totals.
Okay.
Because that shouldn't resolve until after Eugene's cards resolve, since they're higher up on the stack.
Because the stack resolves top down.
Yes, that is correct.
Exactly as the economy trickles down.
First in, last out.
That's right.
This ain't no FIFO buffer.
I'm sorry, I was joshing with you. Did he put those cards on top of the deck or bottom? I missed that. From Gaze the Ages.
I was awaiting moon. I said, thank you, chat. I didn't see what he did.
Okay. Oh, yeah, because the Alluvian Constellus ticked down, I see, for the waning moon. Looks like, is he indicating that he's activated Metacarpus nodes, or is he just indicating that he can?
I think the trigger is on the stack, so I'm not sure if
he's
about it. Resolving it yet, but he's showing that he can. It's Feiyu's turn currently. This is all in response to an Aether Spindle play.
Which is still on the stack, awaiting to tickle Eugene down to 13.
Just a little tickle tick. And then here we go. Another Kano activation.
From that free blue he got by playing the Gaze.
So
oh my goodness.
I'm guessing he opted that off his Gaze.
I would have to assume, yeah.
So this is if he's got Blazing Aether in Arsenal, this might be game over, especially with the combination of Aether Flare and Aether Wildfire being able to double buff that Blazing Aether, which is just nasty.
What could Feiyu have in... What combination of cards could he have in his hand and arsenal to punish this Aether Wildfire here?
Honestly, not a lot.
I mean, would it...
It is... I wonder... I'm curious if... No, because he's already played the Aether Spindle, so the Aether Spindle won't benefit from the Wildfire buff. But he doesn't have enough... I mean, if he can survive and the Aether Spindle fully hits... And then if he can Storm Striders and play like his own Blazing Aether or something,
right.
Then it could be buffed by the Wildfire and the Spindle maybe coming in for.
But you would have to, Eugene would have to run out of cards and have already done 9 arcane damage.
Yeah, no, it's not gonna. I don't think Feiyu definitely can't like counter kill Eugene here. I think it's more of a he's got to survive, but he's gonna crack the ragamuffins. He might have a red in hand.
Yeah, that must mean what that is. That must be what that means.
So he's going to draw a card and then put one card from hand back on top of the deck. Yeah, it did.
I think I might have seen an Aether Wildfire, huh?
Yeah, it might have been a Wildfire, which is unfortunate.
Andrew Rudin in the back demonstrating how he feels about this game with a massive yawn.
It's been a long day.
Absolutely, and Andrew himself very accustomed to games that go long and into draws.
Yes. Yes.
He's our resident drowsy.
Thank you. Thank you, chat. Ether Spindle would benefit from the buff. So that, that could be interesting. I don't know if, with that buff, if I don't know. I don't know. I can't do the math right now because I'm talking at the same time. But it's this doesn't look good for Feiyu.
Because we still haven't resolved the Aether Flare, right? So Aether Flare is going to get that buff, and then even buff Eugene's next Wizard non-attack even more.
Yeah, so I think we're doing 2 here. So Aether Flare is going to come in for 6. Or is it just 3? I forget. I keep forgetting.
It's looks like Feiyu did find the blue. He went ahead and blocked 3. He used the Metacarpus node. It would be 4 on the Aether Wildfire. Now it's 5. Feiyu blocked 3. 2 has gotten in, which means, okay, we're popping the E-Pot. Go up to 3 floating. Ew, here comes a Waning Moon activation, which does benefit from Aether Wildfire. Or no.
No, I don't think it does.
Seems that is not the case.
No. It's just coming in for 3, but it will buff up the Blazing Aether that is probably in his arsenal.
Oh my goodness.
And so Wildfire is coming in for 5.
Feiyu scratching his eyebrow like, can I die now?
I think this is it.
Yeah,
Storm
shields are
Striders,
completely down.
Blazing Aether, good game. There
Wow,
we
what
go.
an amazing setup from Eugene. I don't think pitch stacks were even a factor in that game, right?
No, not at all. I think just careful playing and just like understanding value across the game. I think Eugene did a really good job at not worrying too much. Like, he saw that Blazing Aether turn 1 or something and just played it. Like, it was like, look, this 4 damage is fine. I don't need to worry about it. I think when you play a combo deck like this sometimes, which it is and it isn't, it's non-linear in a lot of ways, but it is, revolves around a certain set of cards working together in a certain way. So you can get a little like beholden to those cards. So when you see it, you're just like, oh no, I need this for my thing. But like, he just did it. He got Feiyu down to a place where he was not comfortable. And once he overextended himself, he didn't even really overextend himself. He just had, did like one thing. And then, that's why on a couple turns you just pass because you're like, I don't want to play anything. But yeah, unfortunately, Eugene was able just to hit some good cards off his Kano. Get that Gaze the Ages. One of my favorite cards for sure. Just it's totally busted in some ways, but it's so dependent on things working out the right way sometimes that it is. It's probably one of the best blues in the entire game.
And the wizard flavor on that card is off the charts, right? Like, I can see the future and also fuel the future with my infinite mind, right?
By looking into the future, I was just given the power to destroy you. So, shout out to Eugene. It looks like your prediction's coming true.
Yes, praise be. I am still praying to the Kano gods to deliver Eugene into the final matchup and to win it all on my behalf. I think there's a cash prize for me for determining the winner, if that's the case. The cash prize for okay, great. I'm getting a nod from our producer Justin. He says a cash prize.
He's got at least 2 tree fitty in his pocket for you. For that prediction.
Absolutely.
All right, so it sounds like we're gonna bring Eugene in here to have a little chit chat. So we'll be back in just a minute, and then we'll give you some updates on the rest of the top 8. Be right back.